The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we're coming to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. Thrilled to be here with you. It's a very rainy day here in Los Angeles and we're not used to that. Can I just say, for those of you who have been bombarded with snow and been bombarded with cold weather and rain and other things, Los Angeles has almost come to a stop because it's been raining for a couple of days. It's almost hilarious if it wasn't so tragic. But we're thrilled to be here with you on this rainy day, and we're going to be with you live for the next 2 hours talking about autism from a 360-degree perspective. I'm very excited about the show today and about some of the things that we're going to talk about. We're going to have an update for you a little bit later in the second hour because we've got so many great guests that are going on in the first hour, but later in the second hour we're going to have an update about some of the things that happened yesterday. We reported on a story about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. being asked to head a commission on vaccine safety. And we're going to update about CNN with their headline saying Trump team denies skeptic Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was asked to head vaccine commission. That was the headline that came out while we were doing the show. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I think it's all a little misleading, like a lot of things right now. So we're going to shed some light on that. But as I said, we are going to be with you live for the next 2 hours. We want this program to be interactive. We want to hear from you guys. We are on Facebook Live now, in addition to streaming live on YouTube, and we still have our homepage where you can write in comments. So there's a lot of different places you can be seeing us live right now, and a lot of places where you can see us podcast as well. So Samantha is going to show you some of the different ways that you can connect with us. And while she does that, I want to remind you that our hub homepage that you can go to always is autism-live.com. When you go there, some of the pluses of going there as opposed to watching us on Facebook or YouTube, you can still watch it live when we're live. But, you know, and you can interact in all three of those places, but when you interact on our homepage, it's anonymous and people don't get to see who you are when you post a comment. So that may be a thing for you, and it's free. All of the places, it's free for you to interact. We also have a blog there that we have not kept up on. I'm going to be better about that this year. I promise that every year, but I mean it in 2017. And you can access the 100 most recent shows from that home site. Now, I was looking yesterday, somebody asked us for a statistic, and we have over 1,700 videos that are archived on YouTube. So we've got a lot of content there, and you can search all of it and have yourself a happy time. And we appreciate it when you do watch and when you share, because we're the little show that could. We don't have a big budget to market. So we love it when you guys share our content. Now, if you're just tuning in and seeing us on Facebook Live for the first time and you're going, oh, who is this crazy woman and what's up with her hair? Let me just say a couple of disclaimers here. First of all, this is not my normal hair. As I said yesterday, people are looking at me and going, wow, she's edgy. I'm a little edgy. I'm not this edgy. This was something that we did. We have a new president coming into office, and we had not heard a lot from him about autism. We're starting to hear dribs and drabs, and I'm very excited about that. But we wanted to get his attention and make sure that we were on the agenda. One of the things that in our research tells us that by even conservative estimates, they say that at least 2% of the population is on the autism spectrum. So we had some people who are brighter minds than mine do some specs on how much 2% of my hair would be, and we dyed 2% of my hair bright orange as a message to President-elect Donald Trump to say 2%, you cannot ignore it. It doesn't sound like a huge number, but when you see it in bright orange on your head, you go, now that's undeniable. You cannot ignore the 2%. So I have pledged to keep my hair in this funky configuration until it either grows out or until we have an autism plan. And I want to be clear, this is part of what's been going on in the last 24 hours about the Robert F. Kennedy thing and the commission that we now have some denial on, is that what I'm asking for is that there be a plan for autism, which is separate from vaccines. We want a plan for people who already have a diagnosis, people who, to be able to get a diagnosis, people who already have a diagnosis, the kiddos who are in desperate need of intensive early intervention, our teens, our preteens and teens who need a different kind of an intervention, and for our young adults and adults who need supports with social skills and living situations and employment. I would like to see a plan, and I would like to see it as soon as possible. I'm going to keep my hair in this configuration until it grows out or until we get an autism plan. On the day that we get an autism plan, I will come in here in the studio and I will take a pair of scissors, or as my grandmother used to say, a pair of shears, and I will hack off the orange part in front of you and everyone. And then we will move on into this new era of whatever it will be. But I'd really like to see a plan. And I got people telling me that autism is on our president-elect's radar. And that, I see that vaccines are on his radar. And that vaccine safety, we're going to talk more about that later. But I want for autism, for people who have kiddos with autism, to be on the radar as well. And that there is a plan for how we're going to get those services done in a way that makes sense for everybody. So that's what I'm looking for. That's what the hair is. Also, if you're new to the show and just getting to know me, I always like to remind everybody at the start of the show, we have a lot of experts on the show, brilliant minds, people who are experts in the field of autism. We have a wide range, array of individuals who are on the spectrum, people that are complementary businesses and that are helping people who are on the autism spectrum. We welcome parents, teachers, practitioners, family members, individuals who are on the spectrum to the show. We ask them to contribute. We're asking you to contribute. What my classification is in all of that, I'm an autism parent, a proud autism parent. We are coming up on the 11th anniversary of my son being diagnosed with autism. And my thing here, I'm not an expert. And I will tell you clearly, I'm not an expert in autism. I feel like I am gaining an expertise in what, just as soon as I say that, my son will do something and he'll grow and he'll remind me I'm not that much of an expert in being an autism parent. But I have a heart for everyone in this community. I want for all of us to get to the progress that we so richly deserve, and for the individuals who are on the spectrum to be treated with the respect and given the opportunities that they so richly deserve. So that's why I sit here, because I hope to connect you to those things. I've been incredibly lucky in my years of being an autism parent, and with the people who surrounded my child and helped us immensely. And I want for you to be that lucky. And you know what they say, the harder I work, the luckier I got. So I want to work hard to help you to be that lucky. All right, so that's some of what we have going on here. If you're new to the show, we like to start Thursdays with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and we try to figure out what in the heck are they talking about and why. And why do I need to know this? What does this have to do with me? Is this going to, because it takes time to learn the jargon. Time is precious, right? So the only reason to learn the jargon is if it saves you time, and time is money, as we know. and money is in short supply in the autism community. So we take the jargon a little bit at a time and try to demystify it. We take the word first and give you the actual definition, and then typically I like to make fun of the actual definition because it's usually useless to anybody who doesn't have a PhD in psychology and is a board certified behavior analyst. You know what I'm saying? And then we give you a working definition, which is also fun because it makes the board certified behavior analyst usually break out into hives. I personally enjoy that. But we try to give you a place at which to begin to understand, what does this mean and what does it have to do with me? Okay, so today's term is ABA. It's our first week back, and I like to start with some of the basics. This is something that we talk about a lot on the show. ABA, it's by no means all we talk about on the show, but this is a pretty heavy component of what we know works. So what is ABA? Let's start with our actual definition. It's a long one. Goody goody gumdrops. Okay, so ABA stands for Applied Behavior Analysis. Little key here, a lot of times people will say behavioral analysis. That lets you know they don't really know. The whole thing is to say behavior analysis, okay? Applied Behavior Analysis, ABA, is the application of the principles of learning and motivation from behavior analysis. Woohoo! That's clear to us now. It employs procedures and technology derived from scientifically demonstrated principles of behavior to increase socially significant behaviors and decrease unwanted or inappropriate behaviors. Okay, ding, ding, ding. Now we can all go home. We're done, right? We're crystal clear. Wrong, right? Nobody's any clearer on what ABA is unless you already know what it is. So let's move on to our working definition. What the heck is ABA? ABA is a proven method of instruction that, and we've lost what the definition is there, but there it is, a proven method of increasing or teaching desired behavior and reducing unwanted behavior. And in a nutshell, that's what ABA is. Of course, it's a much bigger Megillah, but what I want you to know is that ABA is a scientifically proven effective method of teaching. Let's start there. And it's been proven to be one of, if not the most effective method of teaching. And that goes for anyone. That goes for you, that goes for me, that goes for the guy who's down the street corner, that goes for people who are on the autism spectrum, it goes for people who are not on the autism spectrum, it goes for Olympic athletes, it goes for senior citizens, it goes for babies. By the way, it's also been proven to work on animals as well. Because it works on behavior, you don't necessarily have to have a verbal language for ABA to work, which I think is part and parcel of why it is so effective for so many people on the autism spectrum. And that's the other thing that I want you to know, is that ABA has been shown to be effective for people who are profoundly affected by autism and for people who are very high functioning and only need a little bit of support. Because obviously if it works for Olympic athletes, then it's going to work for people who are very high functioning. But isn't it great to know that on the other end of the spectrum, for people who have a profound need for support and services and have a much more challenging time acquiring skills, it's also been proven to be effective for them at creating progress. And that's why ABA is considered the gold standard of treatment for autism. It is why insurance companies now pay for it, and that you probably, if you live in the United States, have insurance that will pay for ABA. If you're not clear on that, I think it's really useful to talk to an ABA provider and have them check with your insurance because they know what words to say to your insurance company. You know, if you don't know what question to ask, the insurance company is very good at giving you an answer that says no. But when you know what question to ask, sometimes the answer is vastly different. So if you have someone in your life or you are someone that is on the autism spectrum, and if there are skills that you wish that person or yourself had, that they're like, you think, gosh, I just wish I could do X, right? Then I want to encourage you to seek out ABA. Now, for our kiddos that are very young, we heard from Dr. Granpeesheh yesterday, Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh. If you missed Ask Dr. Doreen yesterday, she gave it a very passionate speech about why early intervention is so important. We see that between the ages of 2 and 5, it is so important to get those kiddos ABA and to get it at the right prescripted amount, which is a minimum of 30 to 40 hours a week. The insurance company is going to tell you 20 is fine, and your rational head is going to tell you 20 is more than I can handle, so I'm not going to argue for 40, and I'm going to ask you to ask your rational mind to step to the side and listen to people who have been there and done that and meet kids who were nonverbal or very profoundly affected by autism and are doing great now because they had that early intervention. And fight for 40 hours a week. Fight for 40 hours a week. And if you absolutely can't get 40 hours a week from insurance, do it yourself. Do it yourself. Now that's for the younger kiddos. By the time kids go to school, you have to mix it between school and ABA so that your hours are going to be diminished, but go for broke. I especially want to make sure that those of you who have kiddos who are, you're going to hear all kinds of lies. You're going to hear if they're high functioning, they don't need this. Lie alert. Actually, the kids who are high functioning and who get 40 hours a week are the kids who have the best outcomes, hands down. So don't let them shortchange your kid who's high functioning and set them up for a life where they're constantly behind. Get them caught up, and a lot of times those kids get done in a shorter amount of time. I don't want to candy coat it for you. It's 2 to 4 years. That's not short, right? But 2 years done, whoo, yeah, worth it. And for those of you who have kids who are more profoundly affected, they're going to tell you, oh, this doesn't really work for the kids. That's a lie too. Your kids can make tremendous progress. And what will happen is that they will give them skills, and when they give them skills, they will also be diminishing those challenging behaviors, those tantrums, thing of the past. So ABA, gold standard of treatment for ABA, it works on increasing skills that you want to see more of and decreasing skills that are challenging behaviors. So it's an amazing thing. ABA changed our lives. ABA gave us back our child. ABA taught us how to be the best possible parents. I can't say enough things about good quality ABA given at the right amount. Get some. If you're here in the United States, it's available to you. And if you're not in the United States, we'll talk a little bit later on about you can do it. It's harder, but you can do it on your own. Okay? It's available to everyone in some format if you're willing. ABA, it's a really good thing. Okay, we always like to move on to, I'm in a hurry because we got so many great things going on today. The question of the day. We like to ask you guys something. We love it when you interact with us on Facebook. Our question today is, what are your goals for 2017? Did you have New Year's resolutions? Or what is it that you're working on? What is it that you're going to bang out come, what or high water? What's 2017 going to be for you? I know I said yesterday that my word for the year is focus, because I for sure see that what I focus on is what gets done. And sometimes I focus on the wrong stuff, you guys. So this year I'm going to be mindful about what I choose to focus on. And that's going to be exciting. I'm really excited about it. So, and when I choose to focus on the wrong stuff, I'm just going to be mindful of that. I'm not going to beat myself up, and I'm going to go, hey, that's a choice. I made a choice, and I'm going to, not going to defend it hotly sometimes, but whatever, right? Focus, choices. But what are you doing for 2017? What's on your list? And I think it's important to have it be something that's attainable, but just out of reach, right? So it gets us up in the morning, gets us moving, but that we can see it and know that it's possible. We've been taking down the Christmas stuff, and I got to tell you that we bought these pig ornaments that have wings because early on somebody, as we approached, as I said, the 11-year anniversary of being told that my son was on the autism spectrum, somebody had told us at one point, they said, what do you want? And I said, I want for my son to go, to kindergarten on time. I want him to speak. I want him to have this full and rich life. I want all these things. And they kind of muttered under their breath and said, well, that's not going to be possible. And it really reminded me of the scene in A Lion in Winter when the queen says something about what she wants, and the king says to her, well, when pigs fly. And she looks at him and says, there will be pork in the treetops by morning. Right? It's that kind of, that's happening. Don't tell me when pigs fly. And that was what I felt when the person said to me, well, that's not likely, or that's not going to happen. So we got some pig ornaments that had wings, and we put them on our tree every year. And I love when I put them up and when I take them down, and when people comment on them, I go, yeah, there's pork in the treetops, because my kid went to kindergarten on time. He was speaking. He's speaking now. He's going to have a full and rich life and have a scholarship to college. So pork in the treetops. There are pigs with wings. They're telling me I'm taking way too much long. In any case, write to us. Tell us what your goals are. Moving on, we always have a topic for the show, and our topic this week is the teen and adult years. We're talking about what does it take to make our teens and our adults succeed? What do they need for support? And it's a wide spectrum, right? So some of our guests that are going to be on the show today, absolutely love this. In just a few minutes, we have an interview with Deborah Cawdy. She is from 29 Acres, an amazing can-do mom. Her son is 19 years old. She and her husband were looking at, where's our son going to go for his adult years? What's going to happen? We're not here. She decided to get together with a group of parents and make something amazing happen. You probably have seen some of the articles on Facebook about it. Everybody's talking about it, this amazing 29 acres that they're building. And she's going to tell you how you can get involved, how you can participate, what you can do to help this come to fruition. It's happening. Pork in the treetops, it's happening, but you can be a part of it. Then a little bit later this hour, we have special education attorney Bonnie Yates, who's going to be with us, and she's going to be giving you guys some intel about legal issues, and you can always write into us with questions. We usually take a question and give it the following week, so write in early when you have legal questions. And then in the second hour today, we're going to, as I said, recap and give you an update on some of the things happening in the mess in the media about Robert F. Kennedy, and is there a commission on vaccine safety or is there not? And what in the heck is CNN doing? That's in the second hour, along with Kirk Manichek, who's going to be with us to talk about Smile, the book, and why Temple Grandin is recommending that every teen on the spectrum read his book. I'll give you a hint. It's about customer service, and I love good customer service, and this is a great, great thing. So all of that and ever so much more, but we're going to start out, we're going to have a short break, and then it's the interview with Deborah Cawdy from 29 Acres. Stick with us. Currently in the United States, 1 in 88 children is affected by autism. 1 in 88 means something different when your child is the one. Recovery is possible. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, host of Autism Live, an online show about autism broadcast by CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm also the mother of a child with autism, my beautiful son, Jem. You know our old joke, guess what?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt. So we're gonna take the chickens. But things weren't always so easy. I remember when Jem was first diagnosed with autism. I used to lay awake at night in bed and pray for someone or something that could help us to get our child back. My prayers were answered by Dr. Doreen Granpichet and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD treats autism and other related disorders using the principles of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. It is also recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General. About a year after we started treatment with CARD, we were able to see tremendous improvement, and we got our child back.
What grade are you in?
Second.
You are a smart cookie, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends?
Yeah, Oscar.
Oscar is your best friend?
Yeah.
And my child is just one of thousands to benefit from CARD ABA therapy. Across the nation and around the world, children are making amazing progress and being given the keys to unlock their full potential.
Recovery from autism is absolutely a possibility. We've been recovering children for over 20 years. It's just a matter of identifying the child's medical needs, understanding the child's sensory issues, and then teaching the child all of the skills they need in order to function normally.
We know there's hope for autism. Autism is treatable and recovery from autism is possible. If you are an autism parent and you have been on Facebook in the last week or so, then you for sure have seen information about this next story that we're going to cover. There is a couple who live in Texas, just outside of Dallas, who have decided to put their time and energies behind something very near and dear to them, creating a facility for adults who are on the autism spectrum to live happy, safe, and productive lives. We're talking about a place called 29 Acres, and joining us from Denton, Texas, is Deborah Caudy. Deborah, I'm so excited to have you joining us. I saw this story and I was blown away by the devotion that you and your husband have for your son. You have a son who's on the autism spectrum, who's 19, is that correct?
That's correct. John's 19.
And you and your husband are an integral part of, you're the co-founder of something called 29 Acres. Tell us a little bit about what the project is.
Right. So we are a future housing community for adults with autism and other special abilities. And our vision is to be able to offer an alternative to what's available to us in the North Texas area now, which is mostly the group home setting. And, group homes work, I think, extremely well for certain individuals, but we would just like to see a broader scope of different living arrangements for our adults with autism. And so we want to build a safe and very dynamic, innovative housing community for our adults with ASD and other special abilities. And in that community, offer programming for our residents that is evidence-based and really designed to further independence and improve outcomes.
Well, and it's the kind of place that gives all of us hope. That this kind of place, although it does not yet exist in the way that you're saying that it's going to exist at some point down the road, it is the hope. It's something that's right. It resonates, I think, with so many parents. I want to back up just a little bit and talk about, at what point, Deborah, did you and your husband decide, okay, we're going to have to do this because nobody else is coming to do this? When did you say this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it?
Well, actually, we've been working on it for years, Shannon. We probably started thinking about John's future as an adult when he was, maybe 14 or 15. And myself, I, and some of the other founding families with 29 Acres, we began to make trips around the country to look at other living arrangements, what other folks were doing, did a lot of research into other communities and group homes and, what others were doing out there to help fill the need. And we actually, spent 2 or 3 years doing this. And finally, and we had been looking for, as John continued to, grow up, and soon he was 18, and we also had been looking in this area and just didn't feel like there was a housing and programming concept that worked for him. And so we began looking for land. We really were convinced that, we wanted to build more of a community type of setting for John and others. And we began looking for land, and we probably did that for about a year and a half. And just one day, 29 acres, it's actually just short of 29 acres, but it became available on the market, and we went up and looked at it, and the price was right, and the location was beautiful, and we just bought it. And I think then once we bought it, and then we Clay and I just decided we're moving forward. That we don't have all the answers, and we're going to make mistakes along the way, but that we just have to find a way to get this done.
I love your initiative, and I love your spirit, the both of you. As a fellow autism parent, I think everyone who has a child who's on the autism spectrum has had at least one sleepless night where you find yourself awake, staring at the ceiling, going, "What happens to my child when I'm not here?" It is so overwhelming and so scary to people. And I have a 13-year-old now, so I'm just now getting into those years where I think, okay, but not even just when I'm gone, what happens in adulthood, and all the different questions that we all have. I've at least for the last couple of years been saying, okay, I'm going to start looking at different options but I have a special place in my heart for parents who look and say it doesn't exist, so I'm going to create it. And that takes a great deal of energy. But for people who are out there who find that a little overwhelming, how wonderful that you're taking the initiative with a group of people and that you're going to create it. So again, we want to say a little bit about it. This is a residential facility where people can live. All evidence-based practices, we love that. But you have such a wide variety of things. Only in Texas could you do it on 29 acres. Anyplace else you'd have to do it on a half an acre. But you've got 29 acres, which is amazing, and plan for facilities. But you've got water features that are there. You've got a plan for organic gardens, which is, I just absolutely love this. So talk just a little bit, Deborah, about some of the programming ideas that you have for the individuals who will come and live there.
Yes, I'd love to do that, actually. And speaking of the 29 acres and the location is really ideal from our point of view. It's a suburban model. And this area in Texas is, the growth there is just tremendous in this area. In fact, you just really can't stop the growth in this area. But what's unique about this location, and part of the reasons why we chose this land, is because we're juxtapositioned to two universities, University of North Texas and Texas Women's University, and about 15 minutes away from a community college. And we plan to bring all of these opportunities, through the colleges into our programming, both in terms of training and staffing, but also, research opportunities to continue to try to advance best practices. But programming-wise, so we have always wanted to be able to offer quality programming for really adults across the spectrum, and I think that, I've absolutely convinced myself that that's really necessary, because even, and this, and I think that certainly, parent, this audience probably knows this too, but even our adults with high functioning autism need some type of support, it seems like, at least for a period of time, and sometimes, for their life, to be successful with competitive employment and independent living opportunities. And of course, my son requires much more individualized support to be successful. So we want to design programming that can offer opportunities for individuals really across the spectrum. So one, we think, very cool program that we're very excited to bring to North Texas is a program that was originally founded at Taft's Community College in California, and by a gentleman called Jeff Ross, who's the founder and creator of that program, and he has since implemented that programming at First Place, Arizona in Phoenix. And they're in their second year now. And this is a program for individuals who are very motivated to live independently, enjoy competitive employment. And it has a wonderful published proven track record with very impressive results out of California. But basically, it's a 2-year residential transitional program that allows these individuals to build on their independent living and their work skills before moving into a more independent living arrangement. And they actually live with us on 29 acres, but then they spend their day at the community college taking classes and participating in transitional type of employment opportunities, and then they come back to their houses and they're mentored in their homes. And that, of course, is correlated with what they're learning in their classes. And the second year, they move out in the community and live in apartments, and we continue the year 2 of their programming there. And then, if they feel ready, then after 24 months, we help them transition into a more independent living arrangement. And of course, that program, it's wonderful. It has impressive data behind it. It's not a good fit for my son, but it can be a very good fit for so many high-functioning individuals who just need a little more time, a little more support to make that transition. And so our programming for the Johns of the world, my son, it will focus also on improving independent living skills and creating vocational supported employment opportunities. We really want to focus on overall wellness, and by that I mean not only recreation, being fit, and nutritional support and counseling, but also better access to health care, because we all know that the health care with our population is it has a lot of room for growth.
Yes.
And we want to help them with long-lasting, meaningful relationships, friendships with people that live in the community, friendships with people that are out in the local communities, their neighbors, their business leaders, whatever. And I think a core feature of all of our programming is that we're committed to really deeply connecting our residents with their local communities. I want John to have access to the people, the places, the activities, that he wants to have access to. So we need bus stops, and we need cars, and we need Uber and Lyft and lots of different modes of transportation. So that our residents can be connected to their local communities and have that be an easy process for them. And we want, we want improved outcomes. I mean, we want to measure quality of life indicators, such as, do you feel self-fulfilled? Do you feel productive? Are you happy? Who's your friend? And all of those things can be measured. So, and then of course, we're right next door to University of North Texas and these other colleges and community colleges, and it'll be a great thing, when we can fold some of their graduate students and their fellows, into our programming and have them work with us and train with us and, participate in research opportunities. But, really all of our programming, whether it's the Transition Academy for higher functioning individuals, or whether it's the Johns of the world who require more individualized support, it all centers around, growth and, improving independence and getting out there in your in your local communities and working when you can and having meaningful relationships and being engaged and having health. Health is a measure of quality of life, good health.
It's an
So,
amazing undertaking, Deborah, and I'm so excited for you and about this project. It's going to take a lot of money, and you're right now in a funding stage to be able to break ground. Is that correct? You guys haven't been able to break ground yet?
well, we actually have structured this initiative a little bit differently, where we're doing our and it's a little bit innovative. It's something a bit different, but we are building the structures, the houses and the community center. We're building that under a limited partner as a for-profit social investment, a low rate of return. And we're looking for investors to participate in what I would call impact investing. Nobody's going to get rich off this investment. And then our programming remains a nonprofit, and we do have, because we want to be able to offer scholarships to our residents to participate in our programming, because programming is expensive.
Yeah.
And so we do have about $2.5–3 million of startup costs on our nonprofit side, and that is mostly going to go to launching the programs and having the scholarships in place by the time our first residents move in.
And I just want to make the case, though, that anybody who's watching this and is excited like I am and wants to be a part of making sure that this happens, there's a way for them to donate. That you are taking donations right now from absolutely anyone. Do you have the information there about where and how we would need to go to donate?
Yeah, it's you can donate on our website. It's 29acres.org. And again, these funds are primarily going towards launching our programs and the scholarships that we want to be able to offer to the residents who live with us and participate in our programming. Yep.
And I also want to say too, because people ask these questions from time to time, but you and your husband, people always say, we'll put your money where your mouth is, and you and your husband have. You have already donated a lot of money to this project, a dizzying amount of money, and I applaud you for doing that and putting your money where your mouth is. We hope that everybody who's watching, who is concerned about what happens to our adults, and perhaps if you're somebody who's thinking, where is my adult child going to go, you can go to 29acres.org, find out more information about the programs and the facilities, and you can donate. And that would be a wonderful thing to do to make sure that all kinds of individuals have access to these kinds of programs. And we look forward to following this story, Deborah, and hearing more about how things progress, because this is exactly the kind of thing that needs to happen. And we're inspired by you. We're excited about this project and thrilled.
Well, you're so nice to have me on, and we have a lot of work ahead of us, but we have, the vision is good, the interest is there, we have some momentum, and with a little bit of luck and some additional investors and some additional startup costs, we hope to be able to break ground on a smaller footprint of the total build this year. Probably later this year, maybe in the fall, but that's what we really want to do. We want to get something on the ground. We want to get the programming going, just, because the need is, just enormous. So we're trying to get that phase 1 on the ground this year.
Well, congratulations for everything that you've already put in place. We're unfortunately out of time. I'm going to ask you to stay on the line, though, as we go to commercial, because I just want to chat with you a little bit more. But I thank you so much. Please give our best to everybody and stay in touch with us so that we can continue to, we'd love to cover as you start your programs and as you break ground.
Absolutely, and we want you to. Yeah, we want you to. Thank you.
And again,
Shannon.
it's 29acres.org. We're going to be right back after these messages. Stick with us.
and welcome everybody to our 5K, 10K run and family festival.
So the Act Today for Military Families Run and Festival is a race that benefits military children with autism. So we help a lot of the families around the country whose parents serve in the military.
I'm an autism mom, but also a military wife, and I'm so excited to be here at Act Today's 6th annual run. I've never missed one. It's something that really helps this situation. Is fabulous because there's no other organization like it.
San Diego has some of the highest concentration of military in the country, if not the world, and a lot of my friends are military and are affected by autism disorder. And so for me to do some little thing to the people that protect our freedoms is important.
It's hard enough to parent a kiddo with autism. Can you imagine parenting a child when you move on average every 2 years, you have a parent member deployed or in training? Our kids don't like change. These kids are subject to constant change.
My name's Tom Leahy. I am president of One Hope Wine. We are the title sponsor of the 6th annual Act Today Family Festival. We have been the title sponsor every single year, which we're very proud of. We've worked with Act Today for 9 years, which we are also very proud of.
My name is Megan Martin. I'm a licensed and certified genetic counselor at Lineagen, and we provide genetic testing. Lineagen are strong supporters of all families with autism, but particularly families in the military.
Double stroller, so he should get double the amount of applause.
Hey, my name is Yard Connor. I am in the United States Navy stationed here at Navy Information Operations Command, San Diego. I am a first-class petty officer and been here for 3 years so far. This event is important to me. Growing up in a family, my baby sister has Down syndrome, and just living through that and being 17 years older than she is, understand the importance of family, understand the importance of how everybody is important to what we do here, not only in our country, but what we do throughout the world.
For the 10K, here are the top females. Here we go. First place with a time of 42. Arciga, bueno. Good job. And third place, Alex Rodriguez.
Go to acttodayformilitaryfamilies.org and help our military families impacted by autism.
5K, red bibs are the 10K. Here comes some more finishers.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed that interview with Deborah Cotty. We have an interview with Bonnie Yates, who's a special education attorney, coming up in just a minute, but I wanted to take a slight pause and talk about some of the things you guys wrote in on Facebook and on YouTube. Jana said, any help is help. My son is 21, is now and all the help is, I'm sorry, I misunderstood, but is now 21, and all the help is why he talks and is a success. Isn't that the truth? Kara says, there will be pork in the treetops in the morning. Thank you so much. Just what I needed to hear. My amazing daughter is a high-functioning autistic, and they don't think she will be mainstream, but I won't give up. You go, girl. You go, girl, because they don't know. I'm just saying, they don't know. We want to say hi to Alexis. And Stella says, wonderful information and interview today. Thank you. I've been struggling this week advocating for my daughter's development. We're sending you an air hug. We always say here on this show, we do it together. We hold hands. Si se puede, right? Marilyn says, thank you for your help. And I assume that was to Deborah Cotty. Amazing information that she gave us. We also had questions about age range, and I believe it is for 18 years old and up for 29 acres, but we'll double check that with Deborah and the 29 Acres team. But don't forget, you can go to 29acres.org. It's a pretty comprehensive site. They already have drawings and pictures up of what the facility will look like. So definitely check it out. We are going to take a break. Hopefully we're going to be back with Bonnie Yates. The internet, because of the rain, is acting up. So Skype is being a little cantankerous. But hopefully we'll be back to talk about legal matters with the amazing Bonnie Yates. Stick with us.
Potty training is different for every child. A child could come in with absolutely, no control over their bladder, and as long as that's not a medical issue, then we can certainly approach it behaviorally and give them the tools they need to be successful, just like any other skill that we would teach.
Well, we think he's learning to pee on the potty. No big successes yet, and lots of accidents. Here is the laundry from today.
For some of our kids takes, just a couple days. And then for other kids, it can take months and months and months. And then when you're looking at complete independence, it can take years.
Hey, you have to go pee-pee?
There's a lot of different ways to tell if a child is ready. We look for a couple different things. Probably the most important is parents saying, I need this to happen, I'm ready. Second is, a child showing interest in the bathroom, and some of it is simply age. It's time to go ahead and work on this.
What are you doing? Pooping. You're pooping?
You first start with teaching the child what they need to do on the toilet. The basic thing we want is for them to drink as much liquid as possible. It's inevitable that if you drink a bunch of liquid, you're gonna pee.
Help. No, I can't help you pee. Help. I can hold your hand, but I can't help you pee.
Ultimately, what we want is that, the child, as soon as they're put on the toilet, they urinate. So that's step one. Step two is usually working through the amount of time that they're off of the toilet and making sure that they're not having accidents during the time that they're off. So this is kind of the bladder control stage of things.
So the purpose of the potty log is just to see how long it takes them as soon as they sit on the potty for them to actually urinate, and the amount of time that he's able to hold his urine. And with the log, we're able to visually see how long it takes them each time, and if they have accidents or not. He's on a half-hour potty schedule, so if he doesn't go when we take him, then we have to take him in 10 more minutes. So every 10-minute intervals until he does go, and then we reset the clock, and it's 30 minutes again.
Okay, buddy. Okay, last chance to go pee-pees. Do we reset it for 10?
Oh, what does that mean? What does that mean, Jack? It's potty time! We can come play after. Hurry!
What we hope happens in this time is that the kids will learn how to initiate going to the bathroom on their own. This is oftentimes the hardest part of potty training, is because they get so used to somebody telling them when they need to go that they're not really recognizing the signs just in their own body of when they need to go.
Uh-oh, he wet himself.
Uh-oh. Big wet?
Was it a lot? We can reset to half an hour now.
The biggest thing for parents is not to give up. The other big tip, and I think pitfall that a lot of parents fall into, is putting their children back into pull-ups or diapers, especially if they're starting to have accidents. And this is probably the worst thing that you can do. They need to recognize that feeling of fullness in their bladder and take themselves to the bathroom or tell an adult that they need to go to the bathroom.
What do you have to do? You have to put your pee-pee in the potty. Okay, give it a shot. See if you can put it in there. There you go. There you go. You're doing it. Yay, Jack. Big prayer for your pee-pee. Big prayer for your pee-pee. Yay! Woo! Yay! Good job. What a big boy. High five, high five, high five, high five, high five, high five, high five.
Love to see that victory right there. But anyway, welcome back to Autism Live. That was a scene from the A Word. We have joining us right now live via Skype. Thank you very much, Skype, for working. Bonnie Yates. She is a special education attorney. She is an amazing, amazing woman who has so much good information. Also was an autism mom and is an amazing mom, is an amazing person on this planet. Just love her and thrilled that we have this new segment, Legal Matters, that we've only been doing for a couple of months, but you guys have been writing in and saying about how amazing it is for you that to have somebody of Bonnie's expertise who's worked in this field for so long to be able to write and ask questions. We're really, really lucky. But we like to give a disclaimer at the start of her segment always. Bonnie, do you want to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
We have to give a disclaimer. It's not a matter of like or dislike, but I'm licensed in California and I'm licensed to practice before the federal courts. If you're in another state or outside the United States, the answers that we give on this program may be correct, or you may need to contact a local lawyer, which I would recommend in any case because your specific problem is not going to get addressed here likely. We're giving answers, or we're talking about subjects of general applicability. So there's a lot of nice attorneys throughout the United States that really care about helping. And I'm just going to put in a little plug. If you need a local attorney in one of the 50 states, there's an organization called Council of Parent Attorneys and Advocates, COPAA.net. If you go to their website, you can find a lawyer in any of the 50 states. So that, and there are people that wouldn't be on there if they didn't care. So that's sort of, I guess, the disclaimer for 2017, kicking off the new year. Happy New Year to everybody, and I hope it's going to be a healthy New Year too.
Thank you. And while we're talking about great local attorneys, Bonnie, tell us what law firm you're with and how they can get a hold of your law firm.
Okay, thank you, Shannon. Hirji, Hirjin, Chau, Chau, and we're in Culver City, and our phone number is 310-391-0330.
And they're amazing, and Bonnie is amazing. I can speak personally to the fact that she is an amazing special education attorney. I don't know where we would have been without you, Bonnie. I'm always grateful to you. So today, though, we kind of had this break off for a couple of weeks, and we sort of left off in the middle of a conversation about regional center eligibility, and maybe you can help us to elucidate where we're going with this.
Okay, so I think where we left off was we had talked about the fact that you have to have a qualifying disability. That would be autism, and then there are 7 areas, and we talked about the 7 areas. You have to demonstrate 3. They could be learning, they could be, economic self-sufficiency, and so on. So I think we gave you last time a locale where you can look up all the substantial disability criteria. Anyway, I'm going to back up a little bit because I thought about this over the break. I think the prototypal autism parent who deals with regional center in California fall into a couple classes of experience, generally loosely. One would be, okay, your kid is under 3 and already has clear evidence of a developmental disability, so you get under 3 services. That person does not know typically that under that statute, services end at age 3. Now, the regional center is supposed to do a reevaluation for Lanterman eligibility, and that can be done anytime after the second birthday, but typically they don't do it, and oftentimes on close cases, they just kick the kids out of the regional center when they're 3. And so I've met a lot of parents who have older kids, maybe in middle school or something, and the kids, to me, are moderate to severe, and it's like, why don't you have regional center services? Answer, they kicked us off at 3. Okay, so that's one area in which parents need to work. They need to be prepared for the reevaluation under a new statute, the Lanterman Act, at 3. And they need to be prepared because one of the things that happens at 3 is the regional, or slightly before, the regional center has a transition meeting also to transition the family to the district for school-based services. In theory, though, if the regional center evaluation shows that you should be eligible over age 3 because you have a qualifying disability and a substantial handicap in 3 or more areas, they would continue providing services. That has changed a lot, though, because so many people now are getting the services that they want through an insurance plan. But there are still other things that regional center can provide aside from ABA services. And of course, if your insurance does not cover ABA because it's not an employer-funded California plan, self-funded plan, or it's a plan from another state that doesn't cover the treatments in question, then they're still on the hook for that. But assuming you are not that 2-year-old who gets kicked off, what if you're an older kid and your parents hear for the first time about regional center programs and they decide to try for eligibility? What do you do at that juncture? Well, I think it's really important to talk for a moment about mindset. Regional center eligibility is for life, although the regional centers are providing less now than they have historically because of the insurance coverage for ABA services. They still have a mindset that if somebody gets made eligible, they are going to be a regional center consumer, as they call them, for life. And so there is a notion that regional center was developed to cover only a very small number of consumers, people who had intellectual disability. The goal was to keep them in the home. Unprepared for was the autism epidemic. There's tons of cases. So they're always going to try, if they can, to exclude people from that lifetime eligibility. So knowing that that's the mindset, when you go to regional center, you call them and you say, I want an eligibility determination made for my child. They will do an intake. And then typically they are going to refer you to an outside psychologist, a private psychologist. In kind of contradistinction to the school districts, regional center continues to contract out those services. So it's not like the classic school district situation where you have an employee of the district who's paid by the state. So the less money there is, the less they get paid. So it's an outside private person. And in some ways, those outside private people, there's a better chance that they're going to give you a fair shot and be objective. But again, we have the phenomenon of kind of the institutional bias, because if you're a psychologist and regional center sends you 10 evaluations and parents come to you and they purchase 2 private evaluations, you're going to want to keep that income stream going. So I don't mean to sound cynical, but there really is this issue of mindset. And so when clients come to me, usually with children that are 10 or 15 or whatever, and they want to secure regional center eligibility, I tell them that it may not be enough to go through the intake process and have an intake from a regional center's contracted for psychologist. They may need to get their own assessment. And that's a little bit hard to swallow because the price tag can be expensive. I'm not really going to talk about that too much today, although we should sometime. But if you're able to do that, you need to go to an evaluator who knows what the rubric is for regional center, because the eligibility standard is not the same as autistic-like features, let's say, which is a kind of a pretty broad category for public school eligibility, right? they're going to have to write the report and say you have a qualifying disability and justify that factually. And then they're going to have to show how you are substantially disabled in 3 or more areas and justify that factually. So first of all, they have to test, okay, to do that. And in theory, they could put it together with reports for other people, but you want testing. And then they have to write the report in the right way so that when you hand the report to the regional center psychologist, it's all there for him. Somebody, had an evaluation last year, and they said, well, can't the regional center kind of cherry pick through all the reports and stuff and figure this out? And I said, no, they can't. You can't assume that they will. And you can't assume that they're going to look at stuff unless you put it right in front of them. So to me, your first contact with the agency, if you're applying on behalf of an older child, or even a younger child, is here's the report, and it lays it out for them. And if your evaluator can use public school data, public school generated data to make the case, that is hard for them too, because what they're going to oftentimes do is go and get all the public school records, which they are entitled to, and they are going to use those to try to make the case that you're not substantially disabled. So I think where we are is you ideally would have a private assessment so that you're kind of the first opinion that they hear, rather than their own contracted for person who may want to offer up something that is satisfying to the regional center goal of limiting eligibility. The other thing is, if you have a private evaluation from somebody reputable, the regional center contracted for psychologist is not going to be comfortable necessarily in a professional sense going up against that person. So for example, we have an expert we use that sat on the dissertation committee of a school psychologist in one of the districts where we now work. She, the school psychologist, does not want to go up against this expert because this expert sat on her dissertation committee and some interesting stuff went down. So you're trying to get an evaluator that's going to be, well regarded and intimidating to everybody concerned. And that's kind of how you want to start.
I love that you apologize for being cynical, Bonnie, but the fact of the matter is that we have to be adults about this, and these are some of the realities, and I appreciate you sharing that because, we like to tell people here, always know where the money is in the discussion, because it does affect things. And if the person who is, directly tied to the money strings is the person who's evaluating your child, I think it's adult to assume that there may be some conflict of interest for them, and that where your child is concerned, and the services that they're going to get, you need to be aware of that so that you're working the system the way you need to get what your child needs. It's a reality. So I appreciate you saying that. I want to ask you too, Stella has written in and said that she really would love to find an attorney in Pennsylvania and would like for you to repeat the website again because she's not sure she wrote it down. Right. So what is the website to go to find the attorneys?
Okay, I'm going to say it and then spell it and then I'll say it. It's COPA.net, COPAA.net, COPA.net, which stands for Council of Parents, Attorneys, and Advocates.
Okay, so COPAA.net.
Yes.
Great.
Exactly.
Okay, and I'm sorry I interrupted you, but go right ahead.
No, that's okay. I think, you make your call, you get in the queue, you go in for your appointment. The initial appointment is an intake. That would be an appropriate time to give them all the paperwork. Now, if this is somebody that's working with me, what I will do is I will have them deliver, or I will deliver after the meeting, something, that's a cover letter that actually explains the underlying report. And that serves two purposes. One, it informs them very specifically of what I think they will find when they look at this report and the conclusion that they ought to reach when they read the report. And two, it's like, hi, I'll be helping you with this eligibility determination process, which I think sometimes is actually, can be meaningful. So then what happens is if the child is over 3, they have 120 days to conduct their evaluation, have an IPP meeting, and get an individual program plan document in place. So something to watch for is delay, because they are very liberal with the timelines. Some regional centers sometimes, and if they do not conduct a timely evaluation, in theory, you could request a hearing in front of the state hearing office that listens to regional center matters, and your argument would be untimely. And I don't think it would ever get to that point, because I think if there was a filing saying they were late, the regional center would turn around and really quickly complete the eligibility determination. But that would be an option. And then, in that process, in the 120 days, they're going to collect their records, they're going to talk to whomever they want to talk to, and they're probably going to assess your kid. And the reason I say probably is I've had a bunch of cases where they didn't do an assessment, and they write you a letter that's like 2 sentences long, and it says, we, decline to find you eligible under the Lanterman Act. So that sounds bad, but it's actually good, because if they find you ineligible based on no information, and you have a private report and you request a hearing, you're the one that's going to have the, all the evidence. And so that would actually be advantageous. But, just want people to know, sometimes they don't do even a full-blown evaluation. And it's really hard to know why. I've been told by somebody that used to work for a regional center that there were certain times of year that they wanted to accept more cases because it had budgetary implications, and there were other times when they didn't. We'd all like to be a fly on the wall. I'm not really sure how it all works, or if there's there doesn't seem to be any consistency necessarily. But you're in your 120-day window, and if you become eligible, then the issue is, what services are you going to get? Or what services might you get? And if you have a disagreement about what services you do get, what vehicles do you have to address that? And I don't know, are we at a point where I ought to stop, or should I start talking about how you, set up your IPP?
Well, of course I want you to go on, but unfortunately we have an interview in a couple of minutes. So I am going to ask you to stop there, and then we'll continue on with the IPP process next week. But I just wanted to say, for anybody who's watching too, Bonnie, who isn't in the California system and is like regional center, I want to say that we do focus on these things sometimes because there are so many people here that have an opportunity, and there is funding available, and funding at older ages. Sometimes there's regional center vended things. And one of the things that we talk about on the show is that as California goes, so a lot of other states go. And there are other states that have things like the regional center. And a lot of times, if you listen very closely, this advice goes for no matter where you are. And today was the case in point, because all of the things that you said really go for all of the different funding sources that are around the country, including insurance. Being mindful about, making choices about who do you let do the diagnosis, and that sometimes you can get a good diagnosis in the system, but if you don't get the answer that you need, you have other venues, and understanding that sometimes, I think, for parents, it's so difficult when you get the hardest letter ever, which seems so dismissive, and you open it up and it says you've been declined, and they haven't even looked at your child, and it feels like a death. And that to realize that there's a yin and a yang to it, and that when they're just, carte blanche no, it's easy in the appeal. It takes some energy and it takes some time, but you are going to win. And that, you talked about mindset, that's the mindset we have to have as parents, correct?
Yes, but it has to be backed up with, expertise. And I think if the takeaway probably that does apply in, the 50 states in the entire world is you got to have your own evidence. Because you can't be in a litigation situation where all the evidence is stuff that the agency that wants to deny eligibility has developed.
Absolutely.
So we'll come back to that when we do the IPP.
But I thank you so much, and I love, you always give us a little present, and so I love COPAA.net, whatever state that you're in, to be able to find attorneys where you are who have the potential to help you. Bonnie, you are always amazing. Tell us the information about your law firm again.
Well, no, I'm going to give you the goodie instead because
Okay.
that wasn't the goodie.
We got two goodies today.
Yeah, the second goodie is if you want to learn about this, you go on Google and you Google Lanterman Act. That's a good place to start. And you Google California Office of Administrative Hearings Department of General Services, and you can search for regional center decisions in the areas of your interest, and you can read cases, and you will learn a lot. So that's the goodie is, education is good for our brains. Help yourself. It's free.
I just adore it. But now, please give us the information about your law firm again, because I want to make sure people have that.
Here, G. & Chow, LLP, 310-391-0330. I will give you the website, but we're reconfiguring it, so I don't want to confuse people now. But, the website's coming, and I'm told that it's going to be good. So I hope that's true, and we'll look forward to sharing that with everybody, too.
Bonnie, it is always a pleasure. We thank you so much, and thank everyone there and the office for allowing us to have your time.
Have a great week. It was
You
always
too. All right, take care. Bye-bye. Amazing attorney, amazing woman, amazing autism mom. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we have a very special guest who's going to be talking to us about his book, Smile, the Book, and why Temple Grandin says this is a book that all of our teens should be reading. Stick with us.
I am Alexis Weinman at the Future Horizons Super Conference in Dallas, Texas. It helped me in a way because it was a format that I was not used to. Like, I had never curled my hair before. I've never worn heels. I didn't know what foundation was. And it was just, it was a very, like, it helped me more in a business sense. Like, I know how to present myself in front of people now. That's something my mom drilled into my head. I have trouble sometimes with it. Like, you introduced yourself to me downstairs, and so I immediately, like, and I've heard of you before, so I was like, I know this person, I can make eye contact with this person. And if I'm talking to someone I don't know, or if I'm listening to someone give a speech, most of the time my head will be down. I don't look at people in the eye, but if it's someone I know I need to make eye contact with, I make eye contact. But my mom growing up, she, especially after the diagnosis, she would always like grab my hand if I was like, you know, looking everywhere else but her, and she'd like say, look me in the eye. And so she wouldn't let go of my hand until I looked her in the eye. I do feel like I have to do play poet because, you know, sometimes there'll be jokes I don't understand, but I'll laugh at anyway. There will be situations that I'm not comfortable with, but I'm going to have to play along anyway. And I think I just found out, like, I'm just a tremendously amazing liar. Like, I can pretend like I'm uncomfortable with something when in actuality I am screaming inside, or I know the moment I get back to my dorm room, I'm going to start screaming, or having a meltdown or something like that. But I also know that there is a time and a place because there isn't any safe rooms available in neurotypical society. Like, we have to make our own. And, you know, on a college campus, there's not many places you can go and scream without attracting attention. The way I explain it to people is, you know, people's brains are like hamster wheels. Eventually, the hamster's got to take a break. Autistic brains aren't like that. They just keep going and going and going. So we can't stop thinking about things. There's like, that's why a lot of kids with autism have sleep problems, because they can't fall asleep because they have too much on their brain. They can't sleep because they're thinking too much. And I think just the walking in circles, there's no thought to a circle. Like, it's just, like, so I'll just plug in my earphones so I can't hear anything else except whatever white noise I'm listening to, and I'll just walk in a circle. I think it's just like we are just as prevalent as men with autism. There might not be as many as there are boys, but we are still part of this movement. We're still part of this community, and we just got to remind people that, hey, you know, we're here too. You know, don't forget about us. one thing I've learned is that, first off, I'm not the only person who is speaking from their own perspective. Like, I feel like I go to some of these conferences and it's a bunch of doctors and a bunch of parents who want to talk and get to know what autism is about, but there's not a lot of people on the spectrum talking about it. And so I come to these and I see Temple Grandin, who's one of the biggest faces in the autism community, actually get up and talk about what helped her and what we need to do in order to get our kids out of society and not in our parents' basements. And so it's just kind of reaffirming, like, I'm not the only one. Thank you. Because I go to these and I would be the only one. I'd be next to a bunch of doctors and talking about words I have not even seen before, let alone pronounce. And I'm just sitting here like, I did a pageant once. So it's good to know, like, I'm speaking from a perspective of not necessarily overcoming, but learning to live with this, because I feel like not a lot of people come out and say what it's like to live on the autism spectrum. A lot of people talk about the struggles and everything like that, but they don't talk about, you know, what they've done to make their lives better while living on the spectrum.
Welcome back to Autism Live. So thrilled about our next guest. Kurt Manneke is joining us via Skype. He is the author of the book, Smile the Book. And this is the book that Temple Grandin has said that all of our teens should be reading. And so we're thrilled to have Kurt here with us. And Kurt, give us a little bit of background, because you had a book before this that I kind of went gazonga about, and you and I just were talking about briefly, because I'm a customer service geek. I don't know about everybody else that's out there. I not only expect, but I appreciate good customer service, and this is an area that you know quite a bit about. So tell us a little bit about you and how this book came to be.
Sure. I wrote my first book, Smile, Sell More with Amazing Customer Service, Shannon. It's a 60-minute crash course. Neiman Marcus uses it for training. And then I had all these moms and teachers come up to me and they said, "You've got to get this book in the schools." And I said, "Really? I really wrote it for businesses." And they said, "It's all the people skills kids aren't learning." So I thought, you know, let me just write one that has teens on the front cover. So I took the concepts in that book and then wrote my book, Smile and Succeed for Teens, Must Know People Skills for Today's Wired World. And that's a crash course in social skills and job skills. And I added 50 informative illustrations with educational captions. And I spent 9 months meeting with teens and moms and grandmas to make sure it had everything the kids wanted. I added a chapter on how to interview and get a job, a chapter on volunteering, and a section on overcoming stress. And it's really I didn't write it for the autism market, but that's who's really buying it, the special education teachers and the school districts and the special education directors.
Well, and it makes great sense to me, I got to be honest, because, and I love that you didn't write it for the autism community, because I see, you know, I'm a former teacher and I taught in high schools and junior high schools, and there's just a bunch of things. If you think about it, there's a finite number of hours in which you can teach somebody something, right? And now with a TV on and, you know, iPads laying around everywhere and smartphones, a lot of the time that we would have traditionally been teaching our kids some of the really important life skills, and I'm talking all kids, that we would have been teaching that gets eaten up by, you know, the media and social media and all these other things. And we see in general that there is a population of people coming along that are coming of age that don't have some of the really essential life skills. And it just so happens that our kids on the autism spectrum tend to miss out on those things too, because they have a deficit in social skills. So I think you're hitting it out of the park for all of our kids. And I think it's a great book to give as a gift to anybody who has any teenager, but it's essential, as Temple said, for our kiddos who are on the autism spectrum. It's the roadmap. It's all, you know, we always talk about the puzzle piece. There's things that are missing in autism, and these are the things that are missing that are important to have in order to have job skills. And I love that the title of it is Smile. Talk a little bit about the power of a smile.
Well, the power of a smile, that's, you know, that's what the book looks like if you can see it. But I put Smile right on the cover because that's your first impression. And first impressions, as you know, matter. You know, they set the foundation for future friendships, for future business transactions. I don't care how fancy you get with the building or the store inside, if you don't have that proper greeting with a smile and a friendly hello, the rest of it's not going to matter. So that's why I named my book Smile, because I would go into so many companies, into their businesses, and nobody was smiling. And I'm sure you've encountered that too, being, how passionate you are about customer service.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. There are things I was saying to Kurt before we went live that even when my son was little and not yet verbal, I am just, former teacher, and customer service is my thing. So I was always talking to him about customer service and pointing out. The one thing about me that I'll say, I'm tough on customer service, but if somebody gives me good customer service, I'm the person who calls the phone number on the receipt and calls corporate and says, I'm standing here with Joelle, and Joelle just gave me good customer service. And here's why, and I call the manager over. I'm that crazy woman. Because I love it, because you don't get it very often.
You don't. It's very rare. I mean, it's really, really rare. And I think that's why Temple Grandin really, I was telling you, she called me and said, get this book out to all teens, because it's all the basic job skills. No teen is going to get trained on this stuff on the job. They'll learn how to use the cash register, but I guarantee 99% of the time they are not going to learn these important social skills.
And here's the thing that everybody, I think, needs to know, and why your book is so important, is that when a kid starts out in those entry-level jobs where they're going to be working the cash register, and people always say, well, how does somebody go from that to being the manager of the store? And I think the answer is all in customer service. The people who know how to do those little things, whether they like it or not.
Yes.
That giving the smile, you don't have to feel the smile in your toes, but if you smile at somebody, the response that you're going to get is going to be better from that customer. And if you do it day in and day out, that's the person who gets more responsibility. And then when they deal well with that, they end up being the assistant manager and end up being the manager, and they get more money.
Exactly. And you mentioned smile. I'll show you the very first page in my book. You'll like this if I can show the camera. That's the first illustration. I don't know if you can see that, but it's
you got to pull it, hold it up a little bit higher, Kurt. Cover your face with it. There you go. And I still can't see it well enough without my glasses to know what it is that you're showing me. So tell me what you're showing me.
So there's two kids, a boy and a girl, and they're both smiling and they look happy. And if you walk, if a teen is working in a business and he or she smiles at that customer and just says hello, that's huge. Because I'll tell you what, most places I walk into at least once a day, they don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but they don't.
Yeah. Well, my biggest pet peeve, and if you talk to my son, he can tell you, when I go up to somebody in a store and I say, do you have X, Y, or Z? And the response that I get 9 times out of 10, they go, I don't know. I know, right?
Yes, I covered in my book, and it says when you don't know the answer, ask. So you never say that. You say, I'm not sure, but let me go find out. I'll be right back.
Exactly. My son will tell you, since he was little, I think he was probably 2 when I would drill it into his head, there's never a period at the end of I don't know. It always continues into, but I'll find out.
Exactly.
And how much do we love it when somebody says that?
Oh, and it's so rich to see that. And you as a former teacher, I should tell you that I do have even a teaching guide for this. So a lot of schools use it, and it's great because then the kids are ready. And when you go in a store or a business where they're working, or a restaurant, you ask them something, if they use the book and the teachers use the teaching guide, if somebody says, is this gluten-free? They're not going to say, I don't know. They'll say, you know what, I'm not sure, but let me go ask the chef. I'll be right back.
Exactly.
And that's
exactly.
So critical.
And here's the thing about that I think is an amazing, that's the great life skill. Because that's, there are a lot of jobs that are customer service centric, and there are jobs that aren't later on for some people. But either way, if you have that kind of a mindset where you're thinking to yourself, okay, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to go find out, that serves you well in any educational experience. You're going to do better in college and graduate skill. That's going to serve you in any job that you have, even if there isn't a customer standing there.
I couldn't agree more, Shannon. And that's like you and I know, and I'm sure your listeners know this too. Unfortunately, it's really rare to find that employee. And when you do, you're right. He or she will be promoted, and they will be the superstar employee. And they'll be, better with friendships too. This is all social skills are job skills.
Absolutely. We had somebody who just wrote in and said this is a great resource for teachers and therapists, and that they're suggesting it to their OT, speech, and behavior crew. What a great, great thing. Great gift. And honestly, what a great gift to give for Valentine's Day to our teens.
I forgot Valentine's Day is coming.
Yeah, that's a great, great gift to give for Valentine's Day. Smile and succeed rather than eat a piece of candy. So, Kurt, we love the book. Where are we going to get it?
You can go to my website, www.smilethebook.com, or you can go to Amazon and just type in Smile and Succeed for Teens in the search bar. It will come up, or Barnes & Noble, any of those locations.
And you're doing a fair amount of traveling. People have an opportunity to meet you from time to time. Do we find that on your website, where you're going to be, when you're going to be?
You can actually, if they follow my Facebook page, I haven't done anything for so far this year because I'm actually working on a parent's guide for this book. We have the teacher's guide, but then I want to finish the parent's guide, and I'm also working on a children's version of the book on social skills for the little kids. So I haven't had really a chance to do much traveling, but it will be on my Facebook page when I do that again, and on my blog.
All right. And so when do you think the parent's guide is going to be ready?
Boy, that's the next thing I'm working on. It should be ready, I would say safely by June 1st.
Okay.
I'm going to have some time to test it with parents, and I've got a teacher looking at it right now, an elementary school teacher. It's almost done, but I want to get a lot. In fact, there's a lot of parents around here that are actually looking at it. So once I get their input and tweak it and then test it with some kids and some schools, then I'll have it done. And probably June 1st, I would say.
Okay. Well, let us know if you need some parents to try it out, because we might know a few parents.
You know what? I actually will take you up on that. Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah, no, seriously, because I
love that input.
We do know some parents. Some of them might be watching right now. In fact, she said sarcastically. But honestly, we're always looking to fill in those Swiss cheese things for things that our kids know, and when it's concise and in one place. And this is not a huge tome. This is a small book, one of those great books that you can, read sections of it and gain a lot from it. And I love that you've got a teacher's guide and that the parent's guide is coming. So you're hitting it out of the park. Tell us again where we need to go to be able to buy.
You can either go to my website, www.smilethebook.com, or go to Amazon and type in Smile and Succeed for Teens. It'll come right up. Or you can go to Barnes & Noble.
And you have a Facebook page too, yes?
Yes, I do have a Facebook page. If you go to my website, www.smilethebook.com, the Facebook is right at the top. Or you can go onto Facebook and just type in Smile and Succeed for Teens, and that will pop right up.
Wonderful. Well, keep up the good work. I think you're going to help a lot of our kids to be employment ready, and you're going to make customer service better, which for people like me makes me very, very happy.
For people like me too. Thank you so much, Shannon.
Thank you, Kurt. Have a great rest of the week. Thank you so much.
You too. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wonderful, and I great information for all of our teens. Don't just get it for your teens that are on the spectrum. Get it for all of our teens. Let's make the world a better place for customer service. Yay! Can you imagine a day when we can once again walk into a store and say, "Do you have this?" And people say, "I don't know, but I'll find out." Yay! All right, you guys, we're going to take a break. Then we're going to come back, and the top of my head's going to fly off because I'm going to talk about the updates on what's being said and the mishmash of what's being said about whether or not there's a commission for vaccine safety and whether or not Robert Kennedy Jr. is heading it. Stick with us. Back in a few.
Population 1 is a book. It's very unique. It's extraordinary. It's written in a voice of someone that has autism. And that insight into the autistic mind is something that I think is profound. And I think it really is the beginning of opening up a whole new understanding for many people that have autism and other unique abilities.
I had no idea that he loved to write and that he had something to share. So we had a conversation about the book, and he told me the title, and I am so excited about it. The way he presented it to me was in population one, not so much he is a population of one, but each of us is a population of one.
It is an extraordinary feat when a teenager writes and publishes a book. It's only happened to me with 500 clients one time before, and this person that it happened to didn't have any challenges, any unique abilities, so to speak. And for Tyler to take the bull by the horn and do this and drive these coaching calls and write this book and say we're going to get this done before I graduate from high school, that's a very, very special thing.
Population One is the book that I wrote, which means that I'm going to talk to people about my life with autism. And I think it'll be really great if kids, teenagers, and teachers, and adults, or any kind of individual have the ability to see, or for me to share my world with theirs in order to be inspired to make their lives for the better.
He inspires us to carry on. He inspires us to rethink what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Welcome back to Autism Live. So yesterday on Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, we reported on the story that came out on Tuesday afternoon that President-elect Donald Trump had a meeting with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And upon leaving Trump Tower, Robert Kennedy Jr. was stopped and asked questions about what had happened in the meeting that they had. And he reported that he had been asked to lead a commission on vaccine safety and scientific efficacy, whether or not the things that are being said are true. That's what he said. We had, CNN has a tape that they taped him saying that. Robert Kennedy said that. And subsequent to that, Science Magazine did a question and answer on the phone with Robert Kennedy, and I'm going to read some of that, but you can read the entire thing on Science Magazine, their website right now. Later, and we didn't know this while we were on the air, somebody brought the report in and we wanted to wait and hunt it down. A report came out on CNN on Tuesday night, and it's still there. I want to say that it has been updated, but it is still there, and it still contains the following information on CNN. The headline says, Trump team denies skeptic Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was asked to head vaccine commission. And everybody was like, what? Like how CNN is saying that the Trump team has denied, they're saying that Robert Kennedy stood there and told an untruth? Like, is that really what's happening? But if you read the article, what it says, and I'm just going to read to you from this so that you can be as confused as I can. President-elect Donald Trump met with notable anti-vaccine activist Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Tuesday, further stoking unfounded fears about vaccine safety and efficacy by asking the Democrat to chair a commission on the issue. But the Trump transition says no decision has been made on setting up a commission, wait for it, on autism. Wait a second. The title of the article says that they are denying that he was asked to head a vaccine commission, but if you look in the body of the article and read the entire thing, it never actually says that. It says, and it repeats, that no commission, that no decision, and there's even a quote from the transition team saying, the president-elect enjoyed his discussion with Robert Kennedy Jr. on a range of issues and appreciates his thoughts and ideas. The president-elect is exploring the possibility of forming a commission on autism. Oh, which affects so many families. However, no decisions have been made at this time. The president-elect looks forward to continuing the discussion about all aspects of autism with many groups and individuals, said Trump spokesperson Hope Hicks in the statement. Okay, well, that's great. I don't really know what that has to do with Robert Kennedy Jr. and a vaccine commission, because Robert Kennedy Jr. didn't say anything about an autism commission. These are two separate things. CNN, come on now. Why is the title of the article about something that you don't corroborate in your article? And why are you casting aspersions on Robert Kennedy, suggesting that he told an untruth, or that the Trump transition team does not agree with Robert Kennedy Jr., because that's not what I see in the quote. And it's very misleading, and it's very confusing. And I found it interesting that other news outlets weren't picking up the denial. Can't imagine why. Although some people are now picking up the denial and using it in articles as one more reason why people should not trust Robert Kennedy Jr. In fact, Scientific America did that yesterday. So I just want our audience to be informed that, as far as I can tell from the CNN report, the Trump transition team is not denying anything about a vaccine commission. They're saying that there is discussion, and I'm happy to hear this, that there is discussion about a commission on autism. CNN, you need to know that a commission on vaccine and a commission on autism, separate, not the same. Didn't think I would have to explain that to CNN, but you know, we learn something new every day. So we're trying to keep abreast of this and trying to keep the communication clean. But there we have it. It appears that Donald Trump has asked, and by the way, I said that I was going to mention from Science Magazine, after the two of them met, Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Science Magazine had the opportunity, and you can read the entire thing on their website, but they asked Robert Kennedy Jr., what happened in the meeting? He says it was an hour meeting, and the vice president-elect came in at the last 15 minutes. The meeting was with Trump and Kellyanne Conway. And they said, did the president-elect request the meeting, or did you? He says, he called me a week ago to request it. Why? He wants to make sure that we have the best vaccine science and the safest vaccine supply that we can have. Anybody that's casting aspersions to that, I want to know why. Why would you not want the best vaccine science and the best, safest vaccine supply that we can have? That's a good thing. Did the president-elect indicate that he doesn't believe that to be the case at the moment? And he goes on to say he's troubled by questions of the links between certain vaccines and the epidemic of neurodevelopmental disorders, including autism. There's the word autism. He does not say, I've been asked to lead a commission on autism. They go on to ask him other questions about the CDC, which I think you guys will find really interesting. And they ask how many people will be on the commission, and Robert Kennedy Jr. says 12 people, a mix between science people and prominent Americans. He says, they asked him, who will you ask to serve? And he says, I couldn't tell you. I just finished the meeting with the president-elect an hour ago. And there is more here that I think is of worth. Definitely check it out, Science Magazine. But hello, CNN, what's with the incendiary title that you don't back up in the article? What's up with that? Let us know. All right, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and talk about our mindfulness moment for the week. Stick with us.
What is autism? What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
What is autism?
I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think about that one.
Trying to,
Jeez. Let me think. Oh man, That's a rough one. Yes.
Autism.
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
A lot of people have the misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them. Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about. Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
It's always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
Happiness that comes out of my son's hard work.
It's a movement.
Unpredictable.
That's right.
Awesome. Love.
The field I want to work in.
Laughter, fun, joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these 3 words. There is hope.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We started last year with our mindfulness moment every week, and most weeks we had an opportunity to do that. Some weeks we were just too busy. But I think it's really important because we talk all the time about how stressful life can be for folks who are in the autism community. It can be stressful for the parents. It can be stressful for the folks who are on the autism spectrum. It can be stressful for the caretakers who are not always parents. It can be stressful for the teachers. It can be stressful for the people who are providing therapy and medical help because there's a lot of questions and it's so individualized. It's not like we can say to somebody, you know, here's the list of things you have to do and just follow it and you'll all be okay. That's not the case. It's not one size fits all, which means you can't just automate it. And that's hard sometimes because in today's world, there's a lot of times when we want to fuzz out and automate things and just be tuned out and just be in a groove. I think it mimics for us when we are truly on the right side of our brains. You know how when you're driving a car and time just goes by so quickly and you think, how did I get home? I don't know how I drove. And sometimes for those of us who like to be creative, it can be a very creative time where your brain is working on something and time just flows. And I think a lot of the times we crave that, but can't find that, so we fuzz out in other ways. And we become not present. The thing about it is that when you're on the right side of your brain and you're in that highly creative space where time just flies by, that's good for your brain. And we should encourage ourselves and everyone, and we should give people who are on the autism spectrum time for that. Because you're in tune with yourself and you're in tune with your thoughts. You're not checked out. It's when we're sitting in front of TVs, I'm so guilty of this, or sitting in front of our smartphone, or spending many hours on social media that's a different kind of fuzz out where we're not really being productive. And sometimes we feel more stressed at the end of it. And I think that's the good litmus test. But what I wanted to talk about today is, since we're talking about teens and adults, is how do we encourage them to be present? And I do think that at least half of this discussion is about giving them time to be on that right side of their brain. And again, the criteria for being on the right side of the brain, you can recognize it when it's timeless and you feel relaxed afterwards and your brain was focused on something. There are times when my son will check out from me, but I can see that he's working on something in his head. And I try to allow him to have some time to do that. I don't want it to be endless amounts of time because there are other times when I want him to be fully present. And over the break, while I was on social media, I was reading an article by a gentleman that I've known since he was a young man. And he was talking about when he teaches, and especially with his kids that are now teenagers, that he likes to remind them on a regular basis and to say to them the words, be present. And that sometimes it can be as simple as reaching over, touching their arms and saying, touching an elbow and saying, be present. that it can be a reminder that he says to them as he drops them off from school. And it's something that I have been playing with since reading this a couple of weeks ago, because I don't know about your kids, but my teen is very into his earbuds right now, where I find myself at least 4 times a day, wop, 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 saying something, whatever it is, to my son, and that's exactly what it sounds like to him. Wop, 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 right? But I'll be talking away saying, don't forget, it's really important. Remember that, you've got to take this to this person and this, and I'm expending all this energy and breath to talk to him. And then at the end, he looks up and he goes, what? And I have to take a breath and go, oh, okay, he wasn't listening to me. And so then I talk and say it all again. And then when I've finished saying it the second time, he pulls the earbuds out of his head and he goes, wait, I didn't hear what you said. And now I'm 8 feet off the floor and unhappy. And so the time when he's actually going to hear me say this important thing, a lot of times my tone of voice is not the Parent of the Year award voice. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what I told you? Right. So instead of going through this wonderful dance that I've been doing now, with the help of reading this post by a friend, I am walking over, touching the elbow so that I get the attention. And then so he starts to pull the earbuds out, but he's not fully back with me. And then I'm saying to him, I just need you to be present for a second. I got to tell you something. It's a prompt, right? But by putting in there, I need you to be present, he has already told me that is not a negative for him. I just need you to be present for a second to hear this. And that we can do this throughout the day. And if we build that in as being a nice thing, then when you're someplace else and you touch the elbow and say, hey, be present today at school, it reminds them, oh, right, I need to give my attention. And when I give my attention, I am being present. And being present and being reminded to be present, it should be a stress deflator. When we are present, I like it better, and I am saying I need you to be present, I need you to pay attention, but I like it better than saying pay attention or listen to me, because it's a great reminder of, oh, I'm here. And the touch, the physical connection, I'm here with you, I'm giving you information. Much better than 3 times and then yelling it. So, and I say to parents, remember that joy never happens anywhere but in the present. So when we say to our children, be present, we're giving them an opportunity to feel and experience joy. What a great thing that is. Fabulous. All right, so that's our mindfulness moment. We're going to take a short break and then we're going to come back to close out the show and talk about next week. So stick with us. Welcome back to Autism Live. We're here at the end of the show, at the end of our week, and And although we will break in and come to you live tomorrow if there's anything that we feel can't wait until we come back next Wednesday. We will be back live next Wednesday, though, and we have Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh that you can ask her questions during Ask Dr. Doreen. That's on Wednesday morning. And then Wednesday, I say afternoon, it's the second hour. Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. My good friend Nancy Allspot Jackson will be here with me. And we've got some great guests both on LTA and on the Thursday show. I do want to remind you guys that we didn't do it this week, but we generally have a postcard that we send out if you are a subscriber. And the way that you can become a subscriber, by the way, there's 2 different ways to subscribe, and only one of them gets you the postcard. We do encourage you to subscribe to us on our YouTube page. When you do, you will get every once in a while, around once a week, sometimes it's every other week, you will get a reminder to a specific featured video with a link to it so that you get an opportunity to watch it. It's not obnoxious. We don't send out a lot of reminders, and it's a great thing to do if you want to stay in touch and subscribe on YouTube. Now, if you subscribe on our homepage, which is autism-live.com, there's a place where it says join our mailing list. And it's on the bulletin board that's up at the top. It's a very small thing. You have to find it. But if you click on that, it has a form for you to fill out. And it is, once you do that, it means that if we have any special notification, that's really, honestly, I want to encourage you to be on that one because, for instance, when we have interviews with Temple Grandin, they're usually last-minute deals where I've called Temple to talk about something and I'll say, Temple, when are you available to do a thing? And often she says, right now. And we say, okay, and we turn on the lights in the studio and we do, and I keep a bank of questions from you guys for Temple and we talk about that and we have a good time. But sometimes when we're gonna have a special guest and it's last minute, we know it's gonna be live, we will send out a thing to you if you are a subscriber, if you're on our mailing list, and we will let you know, hey, this is happening, or oh, this has changed. But you also get the weekly postcard, which is almost like a viewing guide, and it tells you what's happening at what time. So really want to encourage you to be on the mailing list so that you can get that. And we sometimes do a monthly newsletter that goes out to that list only. So we're going to be reinstituting more of that this year. So make sure that you participate in the way that you want to. And I just want to say that I mentioned this briefly yesterday that because there are focus things that I really want to focus on this year. And a lot of you have written in and said you want more information for teens and adults and you want to hear from more people who are on the autism spectrum. And I want you to know that that's been heard and registered, and it's part of my focus this year. I really want to spend more time talking about the needs for our teens and adults. It doesn't mean that we're not ever going to talk about early intervention, because we're going to, and we want this to be a healthy mix of all things. We say Autism 360 here. But we're going to spend some more focus on teens and adult employment in particular, and getting our kids ready for employment, because I keep seeing how much earlier we need to catch that, and how important it is. So we're going to spend some time on that. And of course, the other thing that I'm going to talk about just briefly, because I think I've got just a minute, is that in our discussion about Jeff Sessions on this show, and the thing that still is on his website, comments that he made in 2000 about education and what's wrong with education, is that we're not punishing students who have IEPs in the same way that we punish everybody else, and how personally wrong I feel as a former teacher that statement is, because really what's wrong is that when we punish people who don't have an IEP by sending them home, that's part of what the problem is, not the other way around. What we need to do, there is a problem. Let us not for a moment say that there's not a problem. There is a big one. But what I feel is essential is that we give teachers the proper training to be able to deal with challenging behavior, whether it's with an IEP or without. If we don't give that training to teachers, then how can we expect them to be successful? It's just that simple to me. And I have been sitting around going, why isn't somebody doing that? Somebody needs to do that. Somebody needs, and I am telling you right here, I'm making it my business. We're going to do that. We are going to find a way to make that happen, and that's part of what the focus is this year, is getting teachers to be a bigger part of the conversation and getting them the information that they need, and creating webinars and classes that teachers can join us here for little or no cost. I think in some cases there will be, they'll get continuing education credits, and so there will be a cost to it. We're figuring all that out. We're in the very early stages, but I'm telling you, I'm making it my business. We have to give the tools to teachers, and there's just, I'm 100% clear on it now, and I love clarity, and like I said, my word for the year is focus. And you know what I always say, we can do this together. I'm going to be calling upon you because I'm going to need you. So we hold hands, si se puede, right? We can do this, and we will, all together. I'm totally out of time, but I want to thank you all for joining me in this new, fresh year. We're going to get a lot done, and we're going to stick together, and we're going to make progress. So I will be back live on Wednesday in case something else doesn't happen, in which case I'll see you sooner. But until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.